All right, how's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So what I'm going to call this podcast is, are you contaminated by your past? So I have a lot of family members, friends, amongst, other people I know, colleagues. And the one thing I think that holds a lot of people back is being completely miserable about what happened in their past. And I get it. A lot of people had shitty pasts, right? A lot of people were born in shitty environments, poor households, all these different types of things. I've been in a situation where I know it is not to have any money, really, with my mother when she got divorced from my father. My father owned a nightclub, but after she got divorced, it was very hard on my mother. My mother was a waitress, struggled, bartender. And that was back in the early 70s when, there weren't very many divorced parents. And it was even frowned upon. And my mother was a diehard Catholic, which was quite interesting because the Catholics were so... Hold on, let me get some water here. Were so against divorce, especially 60s, 70s, even 80s, regardless how bad the marriage was. But I was with my mother, and all my other aunts, uncles on both sides of my family, cousins, everybody involved was not divorced. Just us. And I'll be honest with you, I've told her, this has nothing to do with her marriage, but I said the best thing that ever happened to her was, for me, was getting a divorce. I got to spend time independently with my parents, my father, and independent time with my mother. I lived with my mother. But I also got to spend so much time with my other family members because they would take me in on weekends, and we have a massive Italian family on both sides, so all of them had 3, 4, 5, 6 kids. I'd get thrown from household to household. And my cousins on both sides were amazing. And all my aunts and uncles almost became like, more mother and fathers. And a lot of them were all Italian mainly, so they treated me unbelievably. I think they felt sorry for me. I'd go on family trips to Florida, California, all over the damn place. They would take me to Bears games, Cubs games, Sox games. I can't say enough about my family. And I sometimes wonder if my mother and father didn't get a divorce, hypothetically, would I have been able to spend all that time with all my family members? They all owned boats. They had condos in South Florida. The answer is no. I would have been with my parents, which is not saying that's bad. But I do think, again, if I looked back at my life and started saying, oh man, my parents got divorced and we didn't have a lot of money, and all my cousins had their father, and their mother together, their siblings, because I was an only child, so my mother and father never had more kids. I wish I had brothers and sisters, and complain about it, but I don't look at it that way. And I think a lot of people, if you look at your past, and I'm not saying you didn't have a shitty past, but one thing is I don't think people realize is a lot of people have shitty past. Most people, for the most part. Their past isn't that great. I've been around a lot of people that were poor and wealthy, and I can assure you, and in between, not everybody's past is that good. Not only that, the things that they had to go through within their own family, dealing with siblings that could have been alcoholics, drug addicts, thieves, in jail, parents that were alcoholic, drug addicts, even wealthy people not being around, selfish, certain expectations, people that got beat. I don't know about people getting molested. All these different types of things are happening to people, and it's horrific, right? A lot of things that we have to deal with. But I also think through our past, there's a lot of amazing things that happened as well. But we don't really want to acknowledge those. We almost want to carry all the baggage with us and carry it to the future with us. Why? I have no idea. And you see this a lot with divorced couples. I want to do a podcast called Divorce Makes People Dumb a lot of times, and I believe it. But a lot of people that got divorced, and I've been divorced, and you can make it horrific. You can, go through it with respect. And, I just find I get a lot of times, first of all, everybody who goes through a divorce goes through it differently. I don't give a shit. Nobody has the same divorce. So nobody has the same family. Nobody has the same amount of kids necessarily, or going through the same thing with their kids. Everybody goes through it differently, no matter who you are, because we're all different people. We all live different lives. But I do see a lot of people that hold grudges toward their exes, men and women, that destroyed them. And they carry that shit out for decades. Give it up. I'm just telling you, let it go. If that's part of your identity, which it can be, after a while you start to look like a jagoff or an asshole. If you're still caught up with your ex 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, now don't get me wrong, they may have screwed you over, they may have cheated, they may have stolen, they may have whatever they did. You're not that unique. Tons of people get screwed over in divorces, right? That's the risk of getting married. That's the reality of it. You're never going to be able to control the other person. There's this, this fantasy that you're going to marry somebody and the two of you are going to ride off into the sunset and you're not going to have any problems. You're out of your fucking mind. It's ridiculous. Not only are you two most likely going to have problems throughout your life, if you have children, I don't care if you have one, I don't care if you have 10, you're going to have problems. Not only that, you probably have siblings. A lot of times they're problems. You have your parents and their, your spouse's parents. There's going to be problems. You're going to have work problems. Life's a fucking problem, right? That's the reality of life. And again, you're not that unique. And I goof around with a lot of my family and relatives because, a lot of times all the Italian ladies, they get together and we joke around and they commiserate with talking about, husbands. Italian men do this, they do that. This one did this one. I said, they all do that. Not everybody, it's a joke. But my point being is, a lot of Italian men, just saying because that's what my background is, they behave this way. They're crazy, a lot of them. They get nuts. A lot of them cheat. A lot of them drink. A lot of them gamble. A lot of them do whatever they do. Don't think your husband is, especially if you get divorced, is the biggest piece of shit. And he's the only piece of shit. And that's the same with the wife a lot of times. People are like, she's a piece, this person's this piece of shit because of that. I'm like, most people are pieces of shit at one time or another in their life to a certain degree. Not everybody, of course, I'm kidding. But the truth is, no one's perfect. And I used to also tell, people a lot of times they would be complaining about their relationship. And I'd say, well, really, do your friend or your family member, your sister, do you want their relationship? Like, do you know what they're going through? Do you remember this happened, this? They're like, oh yeah, that's right. No, I don't want to be like that. Do you want this? Want to be in this style relationship? What relationship do you want to be in? A fantasy relationship? I said, most of the relationships you think that are great amongst people, your friends, colleagues, whoever, it's not what you think it is. That's the persona they have. Go inside their house. Go live their life. Then you find out they're divorced, or you find out one was cheating, or one embezzled money. All this shit. But please, I'm telling you, quit carrying that back-loaded bullshit, your past to your future. No one, after a certain amount of time, gives a shit. There's that study done. I don't always believe every study, but I think they said after you get a divorce, right? And you tell your friends or your family members, of course they feel bad for you. But they feel bad literally for amount of few seconds, few minutes, right? Now you may tell them, you shock them, I'm getting a divorce. You tell a friend, oh my God, I can't believe that. I feel horrible. If you need anything, let me know. They hang the phone up with you, and they'll probably tell other people they're in shock. They immediately go back to living their life because that's what you're supposed to do. Don't get obsessed with what you think everybody else is thinking about you too, right? And carrying that, like your past, like I'm embarrassed. My parents are still embarrassed I got a divorce. I'm still embarrassed because of what he did or what she did. I'm, carrying all that shit with you. You can't control what somebody else a lot of times is going to do to you, or if you have kids, or whatever situation you're in. It happens. And if you have good friends, family members, whatever, they understand that. If they want to, make you feel bad. Now, if you're an asshole, let me say, if you're an asshole, which a lot of people don't acknowledge how much of an asshole they really are. I talk about this a lot on my podcast. They're only used to acknowledging everybody else's, faults, right? And a lot of times when you hear people getting a divorce, at least me, and you hear this guy did this or this girl did this, I'm always thinking, what did you do? What did the other person do? Because for the most part, it takes two, right? A lot of times men do cheat, or women, because at home something happened. They may not want to be with that person. They may not be showing them love anymore. They're not interested in them. They may be neglecting them, whatever the case may be. A lot of times shit falls on you. You have to acknowledge that, right? And I think a lot of people don't. They're only, again, looking at their past or their past relationships. And it doesn't even have to be a relationship, a marriage. It could be whatever the case may be. It could be friendships. Like this guy went, I'm not even friends with this guy anymore because he did this and this and this. And I know what my friend, I'd be like, yeah, but you did this, 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 and this. Like, did you forget that? Or you called? People are afraid to call themselves out on their own bullshit, which amazes me. My mother, I remember when I was talking about when I was getting divorced, I was talking a lot about my flaws, and I think she didn't want to hear them. And I don't blame her. And I said a lot of fault is on me. I'm not even worried. And it's not even me being caught up with my ex-wife. My ex-wife treated me incredible. All the good. I mean, it was a million times better. It was good compared to bad. But I had my own issues. I was so obsessed with making movies. I was only paying attention to my daughters more. I had all these things that it took a divorce or getting separated to say, wow, I took her, I maybe took a lot of things for granted. No one's saying she's perfect or I'm supposed to be perfect or whatever. And that's not what this is about. But I'm just saying for me to sit back and go, you know what? A lot of problems are you. Like, you're sometimes the problem. And I don't think a lot of people want to acknowledge that. And I can understand that because sometimes when we question ourselves or we don't want to accept that everything we're saying and doing is right for the other person, or is just, what we're doing is not what everybody else wants to accept, it gets frustrating and it gets mad because for the most part, a lot of times we don't want to say we're wrong when we are wrong. So if I was to tell anybody anything, please become self-aware of your behavior. I talk about this all the time because if you find yourself with friends, family members, relationships, shit never really working out for you very well, right? A lot of times I could assure you you're the problem. I'd say more than not. And I'm not saying that, or you have a bad judgment of character. If you keep going out with people that are either cheating on you, lying to you, or you become friends with people that do all these type of things to you, then you are a bad judge of character, right? Or you're jumping into people's lives that you don't even know that well, or you're letting them take advantage of you. Again, that's on you, right? So again, you need to become self-aware of how you behave, who you let in your life. And if you keep marrying people, again, if back to relationships, or you keep dating people, they're dumping you, ghosting you, whatever the case may be, you are jumping, again, into things too quickly. In my program, Mastering Self-Confidence, I talk about that all the time, where you need to first become friends with people before you ever date them, I think. Now, don't get me wrong, one-night stands or whatever, you may end up finding somebody very quickly. Too many people rush too many relationships. Not only relationships like men and women, but even friendships. They meet someone, they think they're cool, and before you know it, they're friends with them, and things aren't working out. Behind your back, they're gossiping, they're lying, they're doing things to you. Well, that's kind of on you too. You didn't know that person well enough. Now, if you've known somebody for many, many years, and things don't work out, that can just happen. But that's life in general. But please stop carrying that baggage and all the bullshit that has happened to you in your past, and quit telling people about that shit, especially new people that you meet. Because for the most part, people don't want to hear all your problems. They have their own, right, that they have to go through. And you know that if you meet somebody and all they're doing is bum rapping their exes or bum rapping their old friends or talking shit about people, what's the first thing you think about them? You think you got to be a piece of shit yourself because all you do is talk shit about everyone else. So if you are one of these people that are always talking shit, then I'd hate to say it, sometimes, you're in it. Sometimes people, I like to say, is you're so deep in the shit, you don't realize how bad it stinks. But if you start meeting the right type of people that are actually, I'm not saying they have to be happy-go-lucky or any of that shit, but they're real and they understand, like, people. And they talk about good, not just bad. They don't talk about all their back history, all how they've been, everybody's destroyed them, brought them down, all these things. Just chill out is basically what I'm saying. All right? That's what I'm trying to say in a nutshell. And just please don't, and also quit taking every goddamn thing so seriously. I understand a lot of relationships were meant to be taken seriously, but a lot of them weren't as serious as you make them sound. Or when something did happen to you, you make it in your head 10 times worse than what it really was. If you do get broken up or ghosted or whatever the case may be, sometimes you have to realize that's the best thing that ever happened to you. I find it quite interesting a lot of times when people, especially in relationships, are trying to date certain people, They date them, doesn't work out, they get hurt, they get cheated on, or whatever the case may be, right? Then they're upset. Or they meet somebody they like very much and they get ghosted. They're miserable the person ghosted you. Like, they're miserable, towards a lot of different things, and I understand that hurts, but the reality is they ghosted you. The good news is most likely you didn't know how, you're getting exposed because the way you're behaving, he doesn't want to have anything to do with you or her, or they ghosted you because they're not that good of a person. So that's a good thing. So instead of always looking at the bad of what happened in your past, learn that it's a learning experience. Instead of carrying it and making it horrific, make sure, really quit doing the same shit over and over again is basically what I'm saying. And pay attention to yourself and your own behavior, because the only one who's going to make you happy is yourself. I got a news flash for you. So, all right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Get a chance, you might want to check out my YouTube channel. It's just my name, Rich CELENZA. I got a website, richcelenza.com too. I'm also on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And lighten up in life. Life, you know what I mean? I call them cut the anchors. If you got people in your life that are dragging you down, and they keep dragging you down, and you allow them to drag you down, it is on you. And I get a lot of times we have children, or family members that we can't get rid of, or that whatever. But there is a way that you can start handling something different where they know, don't let them get in your head and destroy your life. You only have one of them, so make sure you live the right one. All right, take care.